Gaming for the Nation's Black Bible. I'm here with Hamish, creative producer for Need for Speed Most Wanted. Also, added bonus, he works for Criterion. So that's very important because I have a question coming up in this interview that I think some of you Criterion fans are going to want to hear. Anyway, so can you tell us a little bit about Need for Speed Most Wanted?
Yeah, so this is Criterion's second Need for Speed game. The first game we made was Hot Pursuit 2 years ago. And that particular game, we wanted to go back to the series roots. So it was all about exotic cars, epic drives, being chased by the cops. And so when we came onto this game, we really wanted to look at the kind of canon of Need for Speed and kind of work out what we wanted to do with it. And we really love the ideas because Criterion is very much into social, friends, fun play. We like the premise of the idea that you could be most wanted amongst your friends. So we really love that idea, and so Need for Speed Most Wanted is very much a kind of Criterion's take on that premise rather than being a sequel to the original Most Wanted.
So let me ask you, as far as story with this Need for Speed, where are you going with the story?
Well, the game actually is a very open world. It's an open world game, and it's got a very open world structure. So there isn't a narrative story with a bunch of FMV sequences because everyone's path through the game is going to be pretty different. As you drive through the world, essentially most of the cars are unlocked from the beginning. They're hidden, well, not that hidden, but they're all over the world. And yet, if you find them, you can drive them. And each of the cars have up to 5 races that you can play in each car. So by finding new cars, you're finding new events at the same time. So after the first 5-10 minutes, you know, the car you may find is different from the car I may find, which means you go and often do a different event than me. And so basically we're expecting everyone to go off and kind of make their own story in that sense.
And as far as online, how does that work? The transition from, playing single player to playing online with friends.
Well, if you're familiar with one of our previous games called Burnout Paradise, we introduced then an idea called Easy Drive, which is a menu system which you can use whilst driving, and we've brought that back in this game. So to go online, you use the D-pad, bring on Easy Drive, select multiplayer, and just join seamlessly online.
And see, because I think that also brings a certain question that the community has. Because when I first saw that you guys were going to work on this game and I heard about certain details of it, instantly in my mind, I saw it as the fusion of, Burnout Paradise with Need for Speed. Now, is that an accurate assumption, or do you feel like this game presents a different aspect that's more catered to Need for Speed, or maybe something that's totally different?
I see it as something in its own right. So obviously there are some elements in common with Paradise. We have a big open world, largely urban. We've got Easy Drive back in. But then from the Need for Speed side, we've got lots of licensed cars. We've got upgrades. For the first time, Criterion's done upgrades on the cars. We've got Autolog back. We've got a much more expanded Autolog from Hot Pursuit. And we have big cop car chases, which Burnout never had. So I think there are elements from both. But actually, I also think that this game is pretty unique as well. I think people are going to be surprised how different it is and on its own right. So online, the structure is you go online, we have a speed list, which is a section of like 5 events that we serve up to the player. It could be races or team races, it could be challenges, or it can be what we call speed tests, which are little 90-second bursts of who can be the fastest, who can jump the furthest, who can drift the most. So we're kind of really mixing it up online so that players have a lot of variety of things to do and lots of reasons to maybe pick different cars and so on. So we've got a lot of variety in the game. The world's big. It's bigger than Paradise was. We've probably got about double the amount of driving surface because you can get on top of buildings, jump from building to building, go underneath things, through, over, under. So there's a lot of world to explore, not just roads. We've got off-road pretty much for the first time. So we've got some off-road vehicles like the Land Rover Evoque. But I think that people are going to really enjoy the variety of driving experience in this game. So yeah, there's a lot of new stuff as well as some elements kind of that come from other areas as well.
Cool. Now, I mean, when you take everything you've done, I mean, it seems like this game is going to be like splendidly beautiful and everything. Now, one key point, we talk about the Need for Speed aspect, but the most wanted aspect of it is I guess because you're most wanted by not just your friends, but I'm assuming the police as well, right? So how does that work?
So if you race past a cop car at too high a speed, or you smack into them, or you actually also if you park up in front of them and don't get out of the way, they'll get annoyed with you and start chasing you. Then you get to a cop chase, and we have heat levels. So at heat level 1, the cops are just going to kind of chase you, but by not kind of stopping and carrying on racing or hitting the cop cars, you can go up through the heat levels. We have 6 heat levels in the game, and at each level the cops bring in more reinforcements, so whether that's different types of cars like SUVs or armoured trucks or roadblocks or spike strips, but because this game is very open and we've got a lot of off-road, so you can take the cops on a merry chase all over the Fairhaven city, and the system we've got. I mean, the cops can pretty much chase you anywhere, but you're gonna have to use your kind of cunning to find ways of losing the cops, either taking them out or outrunning them or finding like ways to lose the line of sight and hide up. So there's a lot of kind of stealth aspects when you get into the cooldown, so I think people can have a lot of fun with the cop chasing.
Now, 2 more things. One, on a more personal side of things, I find it I kind of appreciate what Criterion is doing with the Need for Speed title. I made a big claim as far as I feel like developers have a hard time accepting that certain people do things better, and they should just rip off an idea. I encourage that developers should rip off other developers, not really rip off, but borrow other developers, engines and the way they do things, because it'll make a game better. A good example of someone not doing that. Take Iron Man, the video game. In Iron Man, the worst part about it was the flight. But to give a good example of good flight would be Kojima's Zone of the Enders. So I felt like if Iron Man, the video game developer, Sega, would have took that, engine and put it into Iron Man, it would have been a good game. So the very fact that they got a great team, they see how well you're doing with the Burnout series, and pulled you guys into doing the Need for Speed series, I think is a good compliment. Do you feel that more developers should do things like that?
I think that when you've got teams that have some core competencies, like things that they're good at, then you're always looking as a developer for new things to do, right? You don't want to make the same game over and over again. And at Criterion, we pride ourselves of never making the same game again. Like, we want to do something different, and so we're always looking for ways to change it up, break convention, do something new. At the same time, we also acknowledge that our core thing that we're good at is being able to make cars drive at high speed and drive in a really fun, kind of arcade but still car-like way, which is incredibly tough to do. And so obviously anything that we do, I mean, we feel like that is kind of part of it. So I think more developers can do that. We always said that it'd be interesting to see games being remixed by other developers. You know what I mean? So what if, I don't know, Kojima had Battlefield, or you know what I mean, or you know what I mean, like that's kind of an interesting idea. The main issue. I think Majesco or Namco has done stuff like that. Yeah, and it can work. I think the main problem is that because games take such a long time to make, that developers themselves get very picky about what they make, because if you're on it for 2 years or 3 years or Duke Nukem Forever 10 years, that's a lot of time taken out on that one project. So that's why we're always looking for new things to do, and it's why we're always going to try and change it up each game we make.
Now the last question, I already kind of give you the prep, but I told you my first Criterion game I ever played was Burnout Paradise. Before that, I thought that Midnight Club was the best racer I've ever played, and I mean, not to say nothing bad about Midnight Club, but once I played Burnout, I fell absolutely in love. So after I played it, my instant reaction was, when's the next Burnout? So I have to ask this question for you guys out there too. I have to ask this man, will Criterion be making another Burnout game?
So Burnout's not dead, right? I think that Need for Speed and Burnout are two very different games, and I don't. Whilst this game has some elements from, that were there in Paradise, things like Easy Drive, I don't see this as being necessarily a spiritual successor to that game. I think this is a different game than that. So, yeah, I mean, definitely, we always look for new things to do. We took a break from Burnout, doing Hot Pursuit and this. What we do next, we haven't decided yet. And that's genuinely true. So I can't answer that question. We tend to, when we're looking at building the next set of games, because as I said, we take some time to build them. We really do look at what are all the interesting things that we can see to do. We always want to turn a new twist on something. So if we can find a new twist on something that we really want to do, and it stretches us and pushes us in a different way, that's interesting to us, and we'll tend to build that. So Burnout as a franchise isn't dead, but in terms of what we do next, watch this space.
Cool. I appreciate the interview, man. Thank you very much, man. You rock, man. Especially Criterion. I mean, you guys already know Criterion are good at what they do. They make things go fast, and then they make things crash hard. I mean, that's the one thing you left out. You guys are the king of crash.
I feel like we spend quite a lot of effort making games play nicely, and a lot of games crashing would be a failure state. So to make it fun is something that we always want our games to be fun, whatever you're doing, and so yeah, that's always been a key thing.
Thank you very much, Game of Fit Nation. We out.
Do it again, this is how it goes.